The year is 2000. The film is Gladiator. It wins a bunch of Academy Awards, including two of the big ones. Best Actor for Russell Crowe, Best Picture for the entire movie. The score is great. The costume designs are great. The acting is great. The story is awesome. It's got a great villain. It's got a relatable hero. It's got tragedy. It's got sadness. And it is just a kick-ass film. Gladiator has not aged a day. Spoiler alert, it's still a great movie. Let's talk about the sequel that came out 24 years later, which is the current year, 2024. Let's talk about Gladiator II. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Before we get started, click on that red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new piece of content. You can also follow me over on X at Hometown0YT. You can also follow me on Instagram at RealHometown0. You can also follow me on the Green Channel Rumble at Hometown0. Let's talk about this movie. This is a movie. It's called Gladiator II. It's a sequel to Gladiator. It's okay. I'm not going to sit here and say this is a great movie if it's not a great movie. This is not a great movie. Here's what makes it a good movie. It's got really, really great action sequences. Sometimes it's a little bit burdened down by the use of CG, which is a little bit heavy in places, particularly like the water sequence with sharks. Yes, there's sharks in a Gladiator movie, which takes place in Rome, which doesn't really make any sense, but it mostly works. What else do we got? We got Derek Jacobi returning as Senator Gracchus. We've got Connie Nielsen returning to her character. That's it. Those are the only two returning characters that I could spot. The rest is all new people. We have Paul Mescal, who plays grown-up Lucius, who is Connie Nielsen's son in the first movie, also Maximus's son, as we find out. We've got Denzel Washington as the guy who purchases our hero and turns him into a gladiator. That's like what I liked about the movie. Here's what I didn't like about the movie. The performances here are not great. Okay, so Russell Crowe gave like a fantastic performance in Gladiator. Maximus is like one of the all-time great characters. I think some people question whether he deserved the Oscar that year. I think he was great. I think he really completely owned that role and turned what he felt was kind of a crappy script into a great one. He really does carry much of that movie on his shoulders. Paul Mescal is a capable, fine actor. He just doesn't have the weight or the gravitas to carry a film like this on his shoulders as Russell Crowe did for Gladiator. Pedro Pascal is in this. He's actually pretty good. He's actually like one of the highlights of the acting in the movie, as like kind of like the weary general who's a bit exhausted and just wants to like chill with his family. He's kind of like in the same place that Russell Crowe is in, that Maximus is in at the very beginning of Gladiator, which is kind of ironic. And then you have Joseph Quinn. He's like one of the two twin emperors. They're both kind of crazy, and their two like performances don't even come close to holding a candle to Joaquin Phoenix's performance as Commodus. Part of the problem too is that when you look at the performances in that movie, not only do you have a bit of a downgrade from Russell Crowe, you also have a downgrade from Joaquin Phoenix, who truly in Gladiator gives one of the all-time fantastic, iconic, great villainous performances. He is so tremendous in that role that basically unless you meet or exceed that, your villain is not going to be able to carry the film, much like Commodus did in Gladiator. So overall, the movie is fine. Good action sequences. Overall, I don't dislike anything about the story. I do want to mention one thing that I can't finish this review without talking about. Denzel Washington is in this movie. Denzel is a G. He's the man. He's the GOAT. He's the coolest guy in the room, and he's not very good in this. I don't really know why he's in this movie other than he's been in like other Ridley Scott movies. Like he was in American Gangster. He was in a bunch of his brother's movies. So he's in a bunch of Tony Scott movies like Enemy of the State. He was in What's the movie where he blows stuff up? I can't remember what it's called. Crimson Sky. He's in Crimson Sky. So yeah, he's I can't remember the name of the movie. Man on Fire. There it is. He's in Man on Fire. Like, he has a relationship with the Scott brothers, even though Tony Scott is R.I.P. now. I don't know if he like was in this movie as a favor to somebody, but he feels like he's in the wrong movie. I think the direction that he got was, hey, like, chew up a bunch of scenery and have lots of fun with the role, not be a good actor in this movie. I just think he feels very miscast in this particular pulpy role, and it simply doesn't work. So, yeah. One thing I love about the original Gladiator II is, like, it kind of captured a lot of magic in a bottle. There's some insane stories about what happened on that movie set. Like, apparently Joaquin Phoenix was such a nervous wreck, and it was so obvious that he was like freaking out and wasn't sure he was right for the role. So Russell Crowe and Richard Harris took him out and got him wasted, and that loosened him up, and he obviously gave a great performance in that. Also, Oliver Reed, who played Proximo, was like a notoriously heavy drinker and a mean drunk, and Ridley Scott forbade him from working on this movie unless he was going to be sober. So his way to get around that was to only drink on the weekends when he wasn't working. And so he got challenged to a drinking contest by a bunch of sailors and got so drunk that he died. So, like, that movie has like this mythos about it from both in front of and behind the camera. And this movie just like doesn't, there's nothing going on here to like capture that magic of the original film. This is just like Hollywood throwing a bunch of money at a director and saying, okay, you can make your sequel 24 years later. Now, granted, we have gotten sequels to Ridley Scott movies that are superior, such as Blade Runner 2049. Shout out to that movie. It's a great one. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? I will say Ridley Scott has been a bit of a letdown lately. I like Alien Covenant. I know a lot of people don't. I love The Last Duel, but I thought Napoleon was one of the worst movies and really frustrating because him teaming up with Joaquin Phoenix again should have produced magic instead of garbage. So that's my review of this movie. It's called Gladiator II. It's okay. I'm not going to sit here and say you should like be kicking down the door to watch it. It's fine. Like, it's a serviceable sequel, but it doesn't even come close to capturing the magic of the original. So that's what I thought of it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Again, follow me over on X at Hometown0YT, on Instagram at RealHometown0. And I'll see you next Wednesday, kids, at 9 a.m.